That's great. That's great.
Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Justin Yates, and welcome to the Tell Me Something Great podcast, episode 7. How's it going? How are you guys? Tell me something great. What's going on? How's your week? My week has been pretty crazy. I've been celebrating Moral Oral all week on the collection page and online in celebration of last week's podcast with David Tuber. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. It's definitely one of my favorite. David is awesome and has been very kind and generous in many ways. And man, what a fun time. And talk about awesome. What did you guys think of that prop? I'm looking at it right now. It's amazing. You know, getting a character from Moral Oral is damn near impossible. But getting a set piece from Moral Oral has got to be even harder. Just like David said, parts of the sets were just thrown away. So I am beyond lucky that David grabbed a few of them and generously gave me something awesome from the show. It's amazing. Thanks for being awesome, David. If you guys didn't check out the episode last week, please do. It's a really great interview. I'm sitting here. It's 8:21 a.m. I just got done working out and I'm drinking the green drink. Tell me something great. Well, I got something great for you guys. I've been working out all week and I'm feeling good. I don't think I've lost a pound, but I also haven't gained a pound. But I'm feeling good. I'm stretching every day, doing calisthenics, just trying to get back into the swing of things. I'm using 15-pound weights right now, and I want to use more. My body is craving it, but I'm so dedicated and locked into what I'm doing right now that I know I have to go really slow. And as much as I want to push it, I can't, because if I get injured again in any way, it's going to be bad. So one day at a time, going slow, feeling good, waking up every day at 6, trying to get to the double workouts again. Just been doing a lot of cardio this week, a lot of bike rides, things like that. But it's been good. Been feeling good. I'm happy to say that I'm back on the horse. I'm feeling pretty healthy after getting back up on the horse. I'm just feeling energetic and ready to rock. And I remember my brother and my sister always saying to me, you know, don't pay attention to what the scale says. The scale is deceiving at times. You'll know when you're losing weight, and you'll know when you're doing the right things because your body will tell you. If your clothes start fitting different, that's a good indication. If people tell you that you look different, that's a good indication. Don't always follow the scale. Muscle weighs more than fat, this, that, or the other. And this week, I haven't gained any weight or lost any weight, but I'm feeling really good. And I'm trying not to look at the scale and have it echo back at me. I'm just trying my best to stay focused and know what I'm doing is the right goal. And I know that eventually the scale will start to reflect that. It just takes some time. In about a week, my rehearsals will become more frequent. So hopefully my body can continue to take on the workload, you know? All right, so first and foremost, I need to look this up because I don't want to give you guys the wrong URL here. Hold on a second. So I want you guys to go to facebook.com/lookseeofficial, and that's LOOKSEE and the word official. This is my buddy Edwin, who I recently recruited to help with the podcast. Edwin has been a fan of mine. I don't think I've ever actually met Edwin in person, but he's been following me online for years now, and he's always been a really nice guy and really generous and just a really cool guy. And he's really into podcasts, and I asked him if he might be able to help me because I'm a little swamped right now, and he said yes, and that's amazing. So I thought I would give him a little plug and encourage you guys to check out his music. It's the least I can do for recruiting him to kind of help do a little bit of the editing and review for some of these solo podcasts. So Edwin, as always, thank you for your help. Thank you for coming on board. Thank you for really everything, man. I appreciate it a lot, and thank you for helping with these podcasts because my plate is pretty full right now, and any additional help that I can get is very appreciated. So thank you, Edwin. You got to keep me updated with what merchandise you have. I'll have to send you out a nice little goodie package for helping with the podcast. So we have a final update from the hand doctor. About 5 days ago, I went back and I had him look at my hand, and he said my mobility is really good. He said that the healing process is going as expected. I told him a few things that I was going through, like I mowed my lawn and holding on to the lawnmower for about an hour with the vibration started to make my hand go numb. And I mentioned this to him, and he said that's totally normal. It's to be expected. He said go slow with things like that. He's like, vibration can actually be more of a problem than probably your guitar playing is. I said, oh, okay. But after looking at my hand and seeing what it can do and just kind of going over everything, he basically told me, I hope I don't see you again. And when I asked him what he meant by that, he was like, your hand looks fine. If you keep doing what you're supposed to be doing, there's no reason you should come back here again. You should be healing up fine in a couple of months and back to normal. Don't punch anything. And unless there's some sort of unforeseen complications, I shouldn't see you anymore. So my hand is pretty healed. It's moving around. I'm putting pressure on it while doing push-ups and pull-ups and playing guitar periodically. So my hand's getting back into its normal regimen, though just like with my body, I'm taking things super slow. I do not want to hurt my hand. In regards to the music that I'm working on next, there's a lot of tracking that needs to be done, and my hand and my arm. For those that don't know, I have tendonitis in my right arm, which is my picking hand, which is also the hand that I broke a bone in. I have to keep my hand in really good condition, and if I don't, I'm going to be in for some big problems. When I was recording the album Friend, my body was going through massive muscle spasms because of multiple pinched nerves. I had 5 herniated discs in my back, and my body was just freaking out. I was having to take muscle relaxers and pain medication while tracking. It was very painful, and I don't want to do that again. My body's not going through those spasms anymore, thank God. And I can hold myself upright, and physically, even though I'm a little bit overweight, I'm in a way better position than I am. But I am worried that extensive tracking, I'm worried that the amount of tracking that I have going on is going to be hell on my arm. So I'm really training it every day, doing hand exercises, basically doing everything I can to just rebuild it and get it as strong as possible so that when I hit the studio, hopefully it won't cause a complication. So something you guys might not know is that I used to play a lot of electric guitar. I played electric guitar for years before I picked up the acoustic. And it's funny because I dedicated so much time to the acoustic guitar that I started to neglect the electric guitar. So much so that using a pick started to feel weird over time because 90% of what I play on the acoustic guitar is with my hands. This is why I use licks or strings, because they're just so comfortable. But playing for so long with my hands and then going back to a pick, it feels weird. Whenever I get a pick in my hand, I just want to aggressively play guitar. It's hard to be gentle with a pick. I don't know why. I finally had a good opportunity to use the LTD that I had upgraded recently. Take a look at the screen right now. I'll put a little card in the corner and you can watch the making of this guitar if you'd like. I've had this guitar for a while. I built it while I was here in California and I've used it, but I haven't really used it on any project yet. And this week was one of the first times I was able to kind of mess around with it. I just got to say, this guitar is awesome. It is definitely a clean machine. The pickups are just so smooth and man, I love playing this thing. A guitar player's relationship with their guitar is always so funny, and mine isn't anything different. This LTD is a guitar that I very much enjoy. When I first got it, I couldn't put it down. I was playing it all the time, and then I started to neglect it again. But then this week I got to sit down and actually use it in some context, and just instantly was like, man, this is such a great guitar. On a previous podcast, I was talking about wanting to get a new guitar. And it's funny because after not playing it for so long, I'm like, why do I need a new guitar? I like this guitar. This guitar sounds damn good. Sometimes taking a break from things can really help. Time is a factor that most people ignore, but it's something that we need to put into perspective, because sometimes applying time can be all you need. I don't know about you guys, but I get a little overwhelmed when I'm working with something and it's all encompassing. So when I'm playing guitar, I play it to the point that everything sounds stale and I just get bored with it. But if I apply time and I come back to it, it seems new and refreshing. It's like a whole new attraction all over again. It's very interesting. I think I like the guitar way too much. So I thought I would give you guys another little sneak peek at what I'm working on right now and give you a little teaser about the second of 3 songs that I'm going to be releasing soon. This song is called Tip Your Bartender. It's an instrumental that I wrote some years back, and with this new batch of music, I knew I wanted to put a new instrumental out, but also put out a couple songs with vocals. And I have a couple instrumental songs, but Tip Your Bartender is one that I've been playing live for a while now, and I thought it deserved the treatment that I'm giving to it. So I'm happy to say it's finally making its way to the studio. And this song is kind of funny because it was originally written to eat up time on a live set. I didn't have any sort of idea for it at all. I just knew that when I was first going out to play live that I had to fill up a certain amount of time. And I have a good amount of instrumentals in my set, but in the middle of my head, I was like, I need an intermission without taking a break. And I thought, like, what's a cool kind of like jazzy, bluesy kind of background music, not too aggressive, but got a cool beat to it, something you can just tap your head to, but something that I can play in the background, kind of be an intermission and just talk to people. And that was pretty much the origin of Tip Your Bartender. And what's funny is that I just kind of wrote this little turnaround, a couple little riffs that just kind of played into themselves and had a few different flavors as the song progressed. And I would play the song live, and it didn't have a name. I would call it different names. When I would play it live, I'd be like, this song is called Thank You for Checking Out My Merch Table. This song is called Can Someone Please Get Me a Glass of Water? I had a lot of fun with the song because I knew it was this like intermission song, and I could just be silly and talk over it. And I never made a name for it, so it was always something silly and could always have fun with it. But the older that I got, I started playing a lot more restaurants and bars. And I started noticing that a lot of the people working at these places, not the owners, the people working at the places were very much in the same position I was. They were getting shafted by the owner, getting horrible pay, trying to work for tips in this weird environment where people are just trying to eat their food. And it's weird. And I've served before. I've worked in the food industry for years, and I can empathize with the bartender and the waitress. And I just remember vividly, I would play the song gig after gig, and I would constantly be changing the name. But then I started seeing almost like this like sadness in the bartenders and in the waitresses, that they're just working these mundane jobs and dealing with people who couldn't give a shit about them. And I felt the same way, because there's so many times that you're playing music that you're just a glorified jukebox. People couldn't care less what you're playing. I just felt for them. And I remember one night I go, this song is called Tip Your Bartender. And I remember playing the song and just talking to people and really calling out everyone in the room, calling out the bartender, calling out like, hey, how's that waitress doing, as she's dropping down the food and encouraging them, like, yeah, she's doing a good job. You better give her a nice tip tonight, you know? And it just stuck. It worked out really well. It was a good way to get the staff involved, and it was a good way to get people to acknowledge who they were being served by. And it was weird. It was like we're all in a communal place, but to do the same thing, but everyone's at their own table doing their own individual thing. It's funny, we come to these communal places to eat together and congregate, but we independently eat. And Tip Your Bartender eventually became not an opportunity to eat time in the set. The song became more. It became more than just a time filler. It became a way to break the silence in the room. It became a way to kind of wake people up to what they were doing. They're just not going out to eat a meal. You know, there's someone out performing. There's people out working. These people have families. This is something real. You know, people are stuck in their own world. They forget about the bare essentials. They forget about just the bare minimum of what's going on around them. And Tip Your Bartender became this song to kind of open their eyes and get everyone in the room to kind of recharge and to, I don't know, just kind of wake up. And ever since that happened, I never called the song something funny again. It stayed Tip Your Bartender. And no matter where I went, no matter where I gigged, when I played Tip Your Bartender, I used it in the exact same way. And no matter where I would play it, the same result would happen. People would look up from their meals and smile at their waitress. They would smile at me. They knew exactly what I was talking about, but it was almost like they were thankful that they had the reminder. And it always worked out well. I'd get tips from bartenders and waitresses and waiters that were like, man, you know, thanks for playing tonight. You know, I really enjoyed the music, but, you know, you were able to make it a profitable night, you know, and I wouldn't have been able to do that. You know, I wouldn't have been able to have a profitable night if it wasn't for you engaging with the people and calling attention. So it really became a win-win. And it was funny because, you know, a song that I just wrote to fill time, to be nothing more than a filler, became something so much more and became such a great segue and just a good way to kind of break the monotony, to wake people up, to talk to people. It became a lot more. And I'm really happy to put Tip Your Bartender on the next batch of music. It's been one, like I said, I've been mulling over for a while, and I think it's going to be a good one. I think you guys are going to like it. It's pretty chill. It's pretty laid back, but it's cool. It sets a mood. I think you guys will enjoy it. I talked about gardening on episode 5, and I got to tell you guys, my garden is just done. My friend Thomas is like, you're a lost cause. I don't have a green thumb to save my life, guys. I need help. I am not good at gardening. So last week we talked about how money sucks and how I am trying to wrap my head around this studio quote. And I'm not going to waste a bunch of time talking about money this week, but I do have some kind of updates for you guys. Dustin at the studio threw me a couple different packages. He gave me the quote for what we'll call like the gold package, but he also told me, hey, you know, there's ways for us to work around this. I've got a silver and a bronze package as well too. So that was really good information to know, that I'm not stuck with a super high studio cost and that there is some wiggle room as far as that price goes. It was good to know that Dustin could offer some sort of affordable packages and be able to kind of work with a little bit of a sliding scale, so that my initial impression on the quote, though it may still reach that total, it is possible for us to be able to work in a way that could shave a few dollars. And I'm pretty excited about that. And again, as I mentioned in episode 5, the name of the game here is trying to be able to balance finances so that I can get you guys a product that's not only badass, but is reasonably priced. I don't want to disclose all the information, but as the podcast progresses, you're going to know more and more. But to make you guys understand a little bit more about what's going on, I got to talk to you about two different things, and that is the internet and that is merchandise, okay? I don't like the internet. The internet is difficult, and it's also very easily manipulatable in a lot of ways. But one of the problems I have with the internet is being able to find a really strong, supportive fan base. And I am beyond lucky to say that I have found some amazing fans. I mean, the 6 of you mean the world to me, trust me. I've been able to reach different countries. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I always feel like I'm one step behind. And my objective is not to have some viral video or to have 10,000 followers on every social media page. But I would like to find more people who connect with the music. And that's difficult to do because I'm not willing to play the internet ad game, and I don't have enough support to be able to spread the music around as much as it could be. This becomes a bigger problem when you're talking about marketing something. These are topics I could talk about for hours. I'm trying to do my best to kind of keep them as encapsulated as possible. And basically, the issue with being a musician that thinks music still holds value is a big issue. A lot of musicians have conformed and think that music doesn't hold any value and that it should be given away for free. Unfortunately, this is my livelihood, so I do sell my music, and that's difficult to do in this day and age because not everyone supports it. So without disclosing too much, I'm trying to work on a merchandise pack for this next EP. For conversation's sake, I just want you to imagine a box, okay? And this box is full of a bunch of cool stuff, and that's what I want to do for this music release. I want to create a box full of this new music, but full of some other stuff too. And I want to be able to sell that as an entire package. But the problem that I'm having is everything that I want in that package is going to cost a decent amount of money to produce. And I don't want to sell every single box for $100. So the balance becomes difficult because our current culture devalues music in a lot of ways. And for me, I don't mind investing in myself, and I don't mind the pursuits that I'm doing. I don't even mind the struggles that go along with it. But I don't want to take advantage of my fans, and I'm caught between a rock and a hard place right now with finances, trying to be able to make this box for you guys in a way that's reasonable. And I don't want to compromise the quality of the music. I don't want to compromise the items in the box. I want everything. But I ultimately don't want to have to charge you guys $100 for 3 songs. I don't think that that's reasonable. I don't think that that's realistic. So this whole week I've been trying to crunch numbers, trying to figure out, how do I get this box? How do I get everything in there? How do I work out this studio quote? How do I do this? How do I do that? And I have made little to no progress. I've done a lot of brainstorming and I've thought about a lot of different avenues. I haven't signed any paperwork or progressed anything yet. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do, but this whole week is just crunching numbers, and trying to make money. Trying to sell the Dexter collection still, trying to push different stuff on the collection page, trying to push music, push the fundraiser packs, basically trying to do everything I can from home while trying to repair myself to pull in some funds because I've got some serious fundraising to do. But ultimately, I hope that the fundraising doesn't have to be as big as I am envisioning, is essentially what I'm saying. I'm hoping that I can find some way to balance this all out. I don't know. I'm a pretty crafty guy, And I've got some people in front of me who want to help me. So I think that this is all very much possible. It's just going to take some time. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I've had too many people steal my music and not support what's going on. And it's difficult. And the older that I get, I can't continuously waste money because of people's consumption level. If you understand what I mean. I don't know how I'm going to distribute this music. Part of me does not want to put it on the internet. Part of me knows that if I put it on the internet, it's just going to get stolen, that people won't buy it, that it'll just get lost in the ether. And I honestly don't know what to do. I've been thinking about keeping it off the internet. I've been thinking about doing 5 to 10 second teasers of every song, and that's it. And not put any of the full songs online. Any video work that I do, the videos would be inside of that box that I told you about. It would be exclusive to the people who get it. And I struggle with the idea of how I'm going to market this because of, I don't know, previous attempts. And part of me wants to go full-blown outlaw. I want to make this box and fill the van up with the box and tell all of you, hey, if you want this amazing box and amazing new music, you're going to have to come find me. I'm not putting this stuff online. I hold value to this and I don't want it stolen and I want you guys to support it, but I need you to support it. I don't know. I'm caught in a rock and a hard place and I really don't know what's the best bet to put it out there. Everyone's using streaming services, but the streaming services are garbage for the consumer and the artist. Putting out music on iTunes just doesn't hold the same clout anymore, and the percentages that they take are laughable. Bandcamp is always a viable option, but still, it's very small and not many people use it. In the past, I've gone to lengths to put my music everywhere and anywhere so that anyone in any country can hear it and get a hold of it. But there's a part of me that is thinking that this next project, though I think it's going to have a lot of sellable qualities to it and a lot of cool qualities to it, I just feel like it's going to be more, like I'm going to make it more of an exclusive thing. I don't know if I would do like a Patreon or make one of those like OnlyFans page, not for the way that your disgusting mind is thinking, but more for the way of making like a paywall of some sort. I'm not really a fan of a paywall, but I'm also not a fan of being robbed. So I have to find some way to approach how I'm putting out this music in a way that kind of scratches everyone's back. And again, I have no idea how I'm going to do that, but it's something in my head. And the more that I think about wanting to go full-blown outlaw, the more that I really, really like that idea. But that might not be the smartest idea, so time will definitely tell. Looking at my notes and seeing what I got. My brother's calling me right now. He's going to make his first appearance on the podcast. Hi, Patrick. You're on the Tell Me Something Great podcast right now.
Hey, what's up? I have huge balls.
That's my brother, ladies and gentlemen. That is my brother. And this is where I hang up on you. I had to pause the podcast for a second, get a cup of coffee. I felt like I was not awake enough for the podcast today. That's my brother, ladies and gentlemen. That's his contributions to the podcast. Thanks, buddy. My brother's an idiot. Oh, that is hot. So what's going on? I've got some notes here. Really, most of my notes here are just talking about how much money and crunching numbers is crazy. And trying to just get this merchandising package to the best price point that I can for you guys. And it is damn near impossible. I have been trying like hell to crunch the numbers, and I don't know how I'm going to do it. I need your guys' support more than ever behind this, but just getting it all made. I don't know how I'm going to do this. I really don't. Part of me thinks I want to make a Kickstarter or do something like that, but I don't know. I don't know. But I got to be honest, guys, it's been kind of a boring week over here. Just been grinding, and trying to make money, trying to fundraise, working out, trying to eat right, doing my best to avoid chocolate, and yeah, just trying to stay driven. These next few months are going to be pretty monotonous. Is that the correct term? Pretty boring. I'm just going to be doing the same things all the time. But the more as the months progress, it's going to get cool. I hate talking about money. You know, something else that I'm trying to crunch this week is one of my cousins is getting married, and I don't think I can make it to their wedding. They invited me to the wedding, and I feel so blessed, but trying to crunch the numbers, I just don't see it being possible, and I feel really bad, and I still have time to RSVP, so I'm trying like hell to make it work, but I just feel like that's just not going to happen, and that stinks a lot. I gotta wake up. Let's hop into the questions this week. I only got a few questions this week, but they are some pretty good questions. Questions this week. Okay, we got a question here. What's your favorite animal and what's your favorite pet animal? Well, I grew up with birds and cats, and I got to tell you that right now I'm living with a hypoallergenic dog, and I got to say that I never knew how much of a dog person I was until I actually live with one. And I don't know. I like all kinds of pets. I always used to be, I was a sucker for a cool looking fish tank. But I think over time, I would say dogs. They're pretty magical creatures. And what's your favorite animal? Will I go with monkey? I think I should go with monkey. Just, favorite all around animal. But favorite pet, definitely going to have to go with dog. No doubt about that one. All right, we got an interesting question here that says, I got a question. When you first started listening to music in general, what was the first song you remember grabbing your attention? Like the songs you can listen to over and over again. This is an awesome question, and I'll try to do my best to answer it. Over the years, I've listened to so much music that in regards to the question, songs you can listen to over and over again, there are so many of them. Here's an example. When I was like 18 years old, I fell in love with the album Come Clarity by In Flames. And when you bought the special edition of that album, it came with a DVD of the band playing the album front to back in their jam space. And I think I had that on repeat in my bedroom for 2 years straight. I think. There's so many examples of me obsessing over songs and playing them over and over again. That's it's nuts, and it ranges from all over, and it ranges from all different types of genres. But when the first part of your question is, when you first started listening to music in general, what was the first song you remember grabbing your attention? What? Okay, if I try to pull from my earliest memories, I have two very vivid memories of when I was very young. When I was younger, my bedroom in my family's household was upstairs, and across the hallway was my sister's room, and that was the entire upstairs. In between the rooms was a staircase that went downstairs to the kitchen, living room, and remainder of the house. My family, my mom, my dad, and a few cousins, and I believe my dad's parents would get together and they played cards at night. And I remember them playing music from everyone, from Stevie Ray Vaughan to Katie Lang to the Allman Brothers. I mean, the list goes on. It was just so much different music. And I remember when I was younger, there were a few Stevie Ray Vaughan songs and a few Allman Brothers songs and a few songs by America that I remember very, very vividly because they were some of my mom and dad's favorite songs. But the funny thing there is some of them I remembered and never forgot from when I was younger. Other ones came to me later when I heard the song again. And when I heard the song again, it was the first time hearing the song that I could remember until I heard the song and I was like, wait a second, I know this song. And that started happening a lot, where I would be subjected to a new, older band, new to me at that time, but then I would eventually be like, wait a second, I've actually heard this. And it was like I had these sound files in my head that were already pre-programmed there. I just had to make that connection again. And tons of bands started popping out over the years, specifically Eric Clapton, the Allman Brothers. I'm trying to think what else. Stevie Ray Vaughan is definitely a big one. But there's another story that I vividly remember, and you guys will make fun of me for this one, but I don't mind, because I think it speaks to the way that I take in music. You guys know that horrible song. You know what? I don't even know who sings it. But so you guys know that horrible song. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You guys know what I'm talking about? I like to move it, move it. It's a song from the 90s, Reel to Reel, featuring the Mad Stuntman. I think they use this in like a bunch of Disney movies. Yeah. It's a horrible song. I remember listening to this song on the radio in the early 90s. So I had to be like 8 or 9 years old at the time. And my sister would listen to, at that time, the radio station she would listen to was like B96, and which was 96.3 FM and 102.3 XLC, which was playing like top 40 hits, but B96 was more like commercial rap music. I remember her listening to this song when I was younger, and I vividly remember going up to my mom and telling her, I don't like how this song makes me feel. And in hindsight, it's hilarious. And I think when I told her, she laughed and said, you don't have to listen to it, and that's okay. And she tried to explain to me what was going on. But to me, even in later years, I find it to be very funny, because in my personal life, I was locked in that young adolescent level of innocence for a long time. And, when that song is so, the innuendos in that song, the song talks about dancing, but I'm even looking at the lyrics right now. It says, all the girls all over the world, original mad stuntman, pawn you case man. Okay, I don't know what that means. I love how all girls move them body, and when you move your body, oh yeah, move it nice, sweet, and sexy, all right. This was used for a Disney movie, Madagascar too, by the way. But obviously, they're using that sexual innuendo and hiding it through, talking about dancing. And at the time, I didn't know clearly, you know what I mean? I was like 8 or 9 years old. I didn't know what they were clearly talking about, but there was like an emotional response to the song that just made me feel uncomfortable, because I think that I connected with the song, and subconsciously I knew what it was, but my body and mind couldn't process it. So it made me feel very strange. And I remember telling my mom that. And again, thinking about it now, I just laugh. But it shows that when I'm taking in songs of all types, they're put through a filter that's very intimate, no pun intended, and very personal and very emotional. And, so again, back to your question, taking this full circle, you say, what are songs you can listen to over and over? And I can definitely not listen to the song I like to move it over and over. But because of that emotional response and that just explosive response that my body has, no pun intended, just because of that response that my body has, there's so many songs that I can listen to over and over, because it hits me in a way that is indescribable. Sometimes, even to this day, I can't put it into words. It's pretty intense. We have a follow-up question from last week's solo podcast. Oh, I'm so happy to dive into this. So this is pretty exciting. We have a follow-up question here. They actually wrote me back, so I am super pumped to dive into this. Last week's solo episode, we got a question from a girl named Sarah who said, what would be your best relationship advice if someone is single and looking? And I gave her some general advice, but I encouraged her to write me back and to give me more insight on what she's going through. And maybe you guys might have some input for her, or maybe that would help me be able to give her some more input too. And she wrote me back. So this is awesome. She writes, so I'm 35, kids, been married and divorced. Don't do the bar or club scene. Okay, cool. So right off the bat, I told her, that is one place, but definitely not the place. And if you're not into that, it's not even a decent suggestion. Or, don't even bark down that. Don't even waste your time there. So that's good to know. I'm a mix between an introvert and an extrovert. I'm getting back into the career world of healthcare. Hey, that's cool. I have tried in-person talking/flirting, and I just come off weird or arrogant. I've done dating apps, and though they were working till this most recent person, things were going good, had stuff in common, but also had our own interest. Kept up pretty regular communication, even though we both had busy lives, and then just started not responding after reading the text. She wrote another message here that says, well, he ghosted me after reading a text that I sent out about labels. He was 30, maybe labels like a boyfriend, girlfriend kind of thing. He was 38, no kids, never married, one serious relationship that I know about. His career in public service has been his life. Well, that's cool that he works in public service, but that's not cool that he's ghosting you. Okay, well, let's dive into this. First and foremost, if he's 38 with no kids, never married, and only one serious relationship, and you've been married and divorced and you have kids, you guys might be on two different wavelengths, even though he is older. That's just, might be stating the obvious there, but, that might be, you guys might be on two different pages as far as that goes. A mix between an introvert and an extrovert, that's got to be a challenge. You got to hate going out, but have the want to go out. I have that problem too. That's why I played music live for so long, because it's so difficult for me to get out that I just have to do it. I don't know, it's weird. Congratulations on getting back into the career world of healthcare. That is amazing news. I've tried, you say that you've tried talking in person and flirting, but you come off weird or arrogant. Is that your personal opinion, or is that what people have told you? I know people are usually pretty judgmental when it comes to themselves, but sometimes being a goof is okay. And if these are part of your, makeup, part of your character, then so be it. But if you find these things to be an issue, like if you come off as arrogant in some ways, then you definitely have some questions that you might want to address, because that can be a turnoff for many people, I think being weird is okay though, being an individual is a good thing. And if somebody's going to look at you and think you're super weird, if you're picking your nose at dinner, that might be bad, but a little bit of weird isn't a bad thing. Well, I'm glad you're trying the dating apps, but as I mentioned before, the dating apps are kind of hit or miss. And I'm going to be honest with you, I would think that something like a Match.com, something a little bit more serious for somebody who is 35, who has kids, who's been divorced, who has a serious career. I think you're looking for somebody you're looking for a teammate. You're looking for something a lot more serious. And a lot of dating apps out there, I don't think that people who share those same goals are using those dating apps. And I understand how judgmental that is, but I think most people will know where I'm coming from. And we could sit back and say, 80% of people on there are just trying to get laid. They're not looking for some of the bigger things that I think would be beneficial to your life and beneficial to your children's life. You know what I mean? Well, if the guy's ghosting you, if the guy's ghosting you, that's not cool. I've always been very vocal about that compromise. I've always been very vocal about the point that communication, compromise, and trust are the kind of building blocks, the fundamental building blocks of any thriving relationship. And if you're dating somebody and they're already ghosting you, I would say just take a step back and apply time. And it takes zero effort to type to someone, "I'm busy," or "I'll hit you back." And if people can't do that, I think it's better to understand that that's the type of person they are, and that those fundamental building blocks aren't a priority for them, but it's clearly a priority for you. So I would say right off the bat, you probably want to try to be talking to somebody who does have better communication, or maybe just write them a message that says like, "Hey, when you want to communicate, let me know. I'm not trying to bug you or be, abrasive in any way," if that's the correct term, and just leave it there, I should ask, have you tried a Match.com or anything more of those serious dating apps? Because I think that those are good. I think it's good that you're getting out there and actually trying to talk and flirt with people. I think that that's actually a really good thing. And it's becoming rare because, like you said, you're an introvert, and a lot of people are. It doesn't help that we're like going through this pandemic where people are less talkative as well too. But I think that being open and creating that dialogue with somebody is a great way to speak. And I think you can do it in a way where you don't have to come off as weird. You can approach a small topic and, give someone your phone number or ask for theirs, and leave it at that. It doesn't have to get to the point of where things become awkward. But I do want to circle back lastly to the point that you said where I come off weird or arrogant. I'd really like to know if that's all in your head or if that's things that people have told you. Because if you do come off in a negative way, which being arrogant can be perceived as that can be a huge hindrance in being able to find a teammate, because that, to a lot of people, is a red flag. And don't get me wrong, I think men are generally attracted to women who have a sense of confidence and who are strong-willed and, I don't know, who hold a lot of the characteristics that could be perceived as arrogance, but they're not conceited about it. I think a lot of men out there are very attracted to women who are confident and who have a lot of self-respect and have self-appreciation. And having that self-confidence can sometimes be misconceived, and some people don't know how to put that out in the world. So sometimes it can come off as a level of arrogance or pretentiousness or even conceitedness. Not to say that you're doing any of that, but depending on where that arrogant statement comes from, there might be something there that you might have to look in the mirror to be able to see what you can do as a teammate and be able to compromise to those things as well too. I hope this makes sense. I wanted to dig this apart a little bit. Keep me posted. Keep checking in. I would try something more serious like a Match.com, or try to talk to somebody local in your area. The fact that you have kids means that you're going to parent-teacher meetings and you're meeting other parents all the time. Meeting people in your local community is a really good way to meet all different types of people, and that has a lot more face-to-face opportunities and a lot more real opportunities opposed to the dating app realm, which there's nothing wrong with the dating apps. It's just, let's be honest, when you're speaking face-to-face, I think you can tear down a lot of barriers there that take a little bit longer when your communication is based solely on the internet, But hopefully this gives you a little bit of food to think about. Please, by all means, keep me posted with what's going on. We'll try to be able to come up with ideas for you. Anyone who's listening, you guys got any tips for her? Any places you think that would be a good place to go out to meet people? Or maybe things that she can do to be able to, reach out to more people in her area, to be able to, talk to more more dudes. Again, I wouldn't waste time on people who are ghosting you because time is short and you've got bigger fish to fry than dealing with somebody who can't take 2 seconds out of their day to send you a text message that says, hey, I'm busy, I'll hit you up later. I hope that makes sense. I believe it's JGrassi5, JYEGRASI5 on Instagram says, how does someone start writing music and how do you go about it? And I sent him a message. Hold on a second here. Let me pull this up really quick. So I sent him a message that says, let me ask you something. In regards to making music, this is a pretty big topic. Let's narrow it down by asking you, what type of music are you into? What genre would you like to pursue? And he responded back, rock. He responded back, in short, rock/pop rock. And he was more specifically, he would want to learn to play the acoustic guitar. And I'm like, well, you came to the source, buddy. No, I'm just kidding. But no, but that's great. Well, my first question is, do you own a guitar? If you don't own a guitar, what I would suggest is just going to a guitar center, which you probably have one in one of the major cities around you, or some, mom and pop place, and just get $100 acoustic guitar. Message me the brand names that you have there. I'll even help you find one. This is what I always tell students when they come and get lessons is, and I tell their parents too, like, you don't want to waste a ton of money on your first guitar. The first guitar you should have should kind of be a piece of crap. It should be something that you shouldn't be afraid to throw it on the ground, and you shouldn't be afraid of dropping it. You shouldn't be afraid of dropping it. You shouldn't be afraid of learning on it, coloring on it, whatever you want to do to make it yours. That first guitar is just kind of an introduction to the instrument. And if you play that first guitar, I should add, you don't want to buy a toy. You want to buy a guitar that will at least stay in tune. And for about $100 in America, you can get an acoustic guitar for about $100 that can stay in tune and will do the job. It'll be good for you to start learning the instrument. And if you play that for, I'd say, about a year to 3 years, maybe, depending on the type of player you are, by then you're going to know if this is for you or not. And that's when you can go out and actually get a decent guitar. And that's when that's when the ball will really start moving. But what I would suggest, again, is to get an affordably priced, affordable acoustic guitar. And I would just start with the bare basics. Buy a metronome, familiarize yourself with the basics of music, from melody to key to note durations, rhythm, pitch, all the key elements, no pun intended, to making a song that go into music. I would take basic lessons or even look on YouTube for basic lessons. Learn all those grandpa chords, as they call them, G major, C major, E major, E minor, all the basic guitar chords, and go from there. If you have some favorite songs on acoustic guitar, try to get those. The tabs for those online. Once again, hit me up. I'll help you look for them and just start throwing yourself into it. And the acoustic guitar, I'll let you know, when you first get the acoustic guitar, it's going to be painful because your hands are not used to playing on those strings. And it's going to take time to build up calluses, and it's going to feel weird, and everything's not going to sound right for a while. But whenever I talk to somebody who's just picking up the instrument, I ask them the same question, which is, have you ever skateboarded before? And most of the time they say yes. And I ask them, do you still skateboard? And most of the time they say no. And I ask them why. And they say, well, I fell on my ass and I didn't like that, so I stopped doing it. And I go, well, guitar is kind of the same way. Like, you have to be willing to go through some pain, and you have to be willing to go through just the first couple, I don't know, years of just getting used to your instrument, you'll play it in a very robotic way, and it takes time to kind of develop fluidity in your hands and in your fingers. You have to build up dexterity and stamina, and that can definitely take some time. So don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Know that the first couple years you're going to fall on your butt, just like you went on a skateboard. No one ollies the first time they get on a skateboard. It takes a lot of practice, but guitar is a very, very fun instrument, and there is a lot you can do with a little. And if you take some small lessons, or like I said, ask me for some tips, I'll give you lessons. It'll be fun. Or as a secondary thing, if you're just learning music production and trying to understand notes and just trying to read music and really trying to understand the basics, I would suggest actually getting a keyboard before a guitar. And I know that's a little weird for me to say, because number one, I'm not a keyboardist. I'm not a pianist. I'm not a piano player. Watching me play a keyboard is very funny. I peck it. I have no fluidity in my hands because I haven't been playing the instrument for years. But I understand music theory enough and reading notes on an instrument that I definitely understand when people say that the piano is one of the easier instruments to grasp because the notes are right in front of you. On the guitar, they're set up in a kind of a weird way. I think a lot of guitar players will agree too that the way that the guitar is set up is a little funny. When on piano, if you break down the notes, it makes a little bit more sense. And it's easier to understand the note relationships when you can break it down to just a certain number of keys, opposed to looking at a gigantic guitar fretboard. So if you have even a basic keyboard at your house, what I would do is grab that keyboard and write all the notes on the keyboard so you know which key is which note. And from there, you can start to understand chords. You can start to understand octaves. You can understand how the keyboard is set up. You can understand a lot of things. I think it's a really good tool to work with. All right, so we got one question left today that comes from an old buddy, Jeff. I'm pulling it out right now. He says, "Hey, Justin, I have a question about relationships. In short, I've made mistakes. Cheated on my wife, essentially. Ooh. Not physically, but I was speaking to another woman online and my wife found out. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys consider that cheating?" Let's keep talking on because there's a lot more here. Okay. "I felt betrayed by my wife's recent actions and decided to look for attention in conversations with other women. I asked the other woman to go out for a drink sometime, and my wife found the message and holds this over my head whenever she wants. What am I supposed to do to help us move forward, because it seems like this is something she will never let go?" As I was mentioning to Sarah, the building blocks, at least in my opinion, to a healthy relationship is communication, compromise, and trust. It all kind of depends on the views that you and your partner have put onto your relationship, but a lot of people can even find that talking to another person of the other sex can definitely be deemed as a form of cheating. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people feel that trying to find that comfort in someone else is deceiving to some degree. But before I go forward, I do want to say, Jeff, thank you very much for sending this message and being open and honest about this. I think that's really awesome of you to do. And it definitely takes a certain type of man to be upfront about these things. And I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this question with us, because we got another relationship question here, and that's 2 for 2. So that's pretty awesome. All right, let's keep reading. I keep getting sidetracked. I'll try to just read the whole thing here. "I know it was wrong of me and I deeply regret it. I tried to explain why I made these choices in hopes that maybe she would own up to contributing to my poor decision. There's the old saying, it takes two to tango, which I firmly believe is relative to our situation, but there is never any resolve when it comes to her side of things. For a solid year, I was feeling like death daily. Teeth pain, back pain, etc. My wife was fed up with me not giving her the attention she wanted and would fight with me, and she would make me feel 10 times worse than I already was." Well, that's not cool. She would want sex when that was the last thing on my mind. My mind and body were not connected in any way. And let me just break in to say I totally know how that feels. Being a person who's lived with pain for quite some time, it's pretty intense and can definitely mess with your head in many different ways, especially tooth pain. Most people who follow me know that I have horrible teeth problems. So I know exactly what you're saying, man. Your whole world is turned upside down and you're just not connected with your body. And yeah, it sucks. Pain is no fun, man. Being depressed, I went on a dating app and I went looking for attention and got caught by my wife. I know inside I'm justifying this because I felt neglected and had no support. That's a good line, man. Yes, I'm a piece of shit for what I did, but for whatever reason, I can't get her to take responsibility for her actions. Like she did no wrong in this. How am I supposed to move us forward when we both can't admit our faults? Why was she only worried about her feelings when I was ill? Did I not deserve to be comforted? I felt like I had no one when I needed it the most. Am I just wrong for what I did and nothing else matters? Do I deserve an explanation on why she made me feel so alone and drove me to look for attention when I was broken down and had none? Please help, Jeff. Well, this is a crazy topic, man. Again, I thank you for sharing it with us because this is pretty awesome. I mean, it's not awesome your situation, but it's pretty awesome that you would be open with this and share it with us. You know, you say it takes two to tango, and it definitely does. And, you know, my first opinion with this is to ask if you guys have seen a marriage counselor or some sort of counselor in some way. Because in my experience with relationships, when things get really toxic, it's hard to be able to have conversations, even have arguments. It can be hard because you'll have resentment towards your partner. Having kind of a buffer in between you two is a really good thing. And when you're talking to a therapist could talk to her about acknowledging what parts she does hold responsibility for, but also they can help her stop bringing that back up as to just hurt you constantly. What's done is done, and nothing can be done about that. And, you know, if she feels betrayed and hurt and her trust is broken, you're going to have to deal with that and figure out exactly what she needs to be able to mend those things, if you can even do it. But if she's willing to go to counseling with you and willing to listen and willing to have somebody, you know, speak with her and speak with you, I think it may help. There's a point in time in relationships where sometimes the partners, even though they care for each other, they won't listen to each other because they're so hurt. And if she is just throwing these things out there at you to continuously try to hurt you, and you're telling her like, hey, this doesn't help, she might not be able to hear you. She might need someone else to let her know that these aren't warranted. Like if she's upset with you with emptying the dishwasher and then brings up that, you know, hey, you talked to some other girl, so you have to do the chores or something like that. It just, that doesn't make any sense. And you need to be able to pick the time and the place to talk about the topic, find resolution, and find if there's a way to move forward. It says a lot that you would seek comfort from someone else. And I think you should sit back and think on that and think, is this something that you want to mend and it's something that you're really sorry for, or is the wants that you need something that you can't get out of the relationship? And that goes hand in hand with her too. She has certain wants and needs, and at a time you weren't able to give that to her. Now with a marriage, I very much view it as a team. It's going to ebb and flow. You're going to have your bad days and your good days, and you need to work with each other to get through these times, not make the other person feel bad because, you know, they're not able to do what the other person needs at that exact moment. And because you guys love each other, you should be able to put those times in. But if you feel betrayed and hurt by each other and you're seeking comfort or clarity elsewhere, you should not destroy the trust that you have, but like Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror and ask yourself, you know, is this what I want? Is this able to cover everything? Can I be honest with my partner to talk about these things so that I don't have to find comfort somewhere else? And again, that's where it goes back to the marriage counselor can help mediate and try to help communicate these points across if you're not capable of doing it yourself. This is a pretty complex topic, man. And again, I thank you for sharing it with us. There's a lot of different avenues that can be taken, but I think it's important to remember that humans are humans, you know? Humans are going to make mistakes. And humans also have the ability to earn forgiveness. And hopefully your wife can see that and work with you and be a proper teammate to be able to give you that forgiveness. But there's also the other side of the coin where that trust may be broken and it may be impossible to fix it, even if there was nothing that physically happened. Some people's viewpoints on marriage are tied with some sort of religious backing. And I don't know her viewpoints on marriage. I don't know, what your guys' vows are or the relationship you have between each other. But some people could find that even speaking to another woman is enough to break the trust completely. While there are other people that know that if there's no physical contact, it's really nothing. This is definitely a hard one to pick apart because there's so many different details. So obviously, I'm some musician with a guitar and a monkey. I have no college degree. I'm no doctor. So, I might not be the best person to ask for this, but I do have a lot of experience with these topics. And like I said, the fundamental building blocks seem like they're not working for you guys right now. And if you both love each other and you both want to work through whatever issues come, you have to find a way to be able to communicate. So I would strongly suggest either talking to somebody yourself to be able to get these thoughts out and to figure out exactly what you need so you can articulate it. Maybe suggesting to her that she should see someone to be able to find out more about herself and what she doesn't do, and be more self-aware of what's going on. But more importantly, finding, again, a marriage counselor of some sort to help you guys bridge these gaps, put aside your anger, and come to a healthy resolution, because you guys have, I know you personally, so I know you guys have a lot at play right now. So you want to try to approach this in a very mature way, in a very serious way. So what I would do is, in the hopes of not stirring the pot, maybe bring up this suggestion on a good day and just express to her that you love her and that these are things that you really want to move past and find ways to do that, but you feel like you're not on the same page. So, extend the olive branch of being like, hey, I want to be on the same page. Can we possibly go talk to somebody or do something? And this is all predicated, once again, on the fact of if you want to continue the relationship. Because I really do think that you should sit and think about the actions that have happened and see what that means for yourself. Once you come to a determination, if the determination is that you love your wife, you are very upset about what's happened, and you're willing to do whatever you can to fix it, you need to be able to express that to her in that way and tell her, I don't know how to fix this. And part of this is that you're not telling me how to fix it. So please work with me. And I think if you can really buckle down calmly and rationally and speak to her on a normal level, if you sit down and talk to her rationally, you're going to get the answers you need. And they may not be the answers you want, but you need to come at this with a level of seriousness. And I hope that she's receptive, because I can tell in your letter that you feel very remorseful for what happened, even though there was no physical anything, But I do want to ask again, and I keep going back to this point of asking yourself. I referenced the man in the mirror because you wrote a line on here that says, I asked the other woman to go out for a drink sometime and my wife found the message. So my question to you would be, if your wife didn't find the message, would you have gone and got that drink? Would you have continued to try to pursue to meet this person? Or was this just some flirting? Or was it just, trying to find some distraction from the current chaos that was going on? That's what I mean, where it's like, if these are things you're pursuing and you're not getting what you need in this relationship, there's a bigger problem going on. And you need to be honest with your teammate about that. But more importantly, you need to be honest with yourself about that. And that might take some time. It takes time to understand who we are and why we do the things we do. But if you take that time and you put that level of seriousness behind it, I think everything's going to be okay. You just need to be able to address all these points, try to address it with her, speak rationally. Dare I even say, maybe even show her this podcast and, tell her about me. Tell her that, we've had a personal relationship for years. And tell her about my experience with relationships. you can tell her that I've made mistakes myself and ones that I haven't been able to mend. So I do understand how breaking trust can be a very, very big thing. But I also know what it means to put time into something that you love, and dedication, and admitting fault, and working towards a better future. There also is a part of this that is a little tricky when you say, I try to explain why I made the choices in hopes that maybe she would own up to her own contributions. Sometimes people don't think that their contributions are as big as the actions that were taken. And sometimes those contributions become secondary because the actions that are taken become too big. And some people are incapable of seeing how they contribute to something because all they can do is focus on certain aspects. I don't know your wife. I don't know how she thinks. I don't know anything about her, to be honest. It makes me a little bit concerned. It's obvious and it's justifiable that she can be upset, but for her to completely negate any hand in the relationship is a little concerning. Now, I think at the end of the day, some of those things don't matter because they've already transpired and the actions have occurred, and now this problem is now something else. But I do think it's important to understand that it takes, just like you said, it takes two to tango. When you're a team, everyone is responsible for everything. You're in it together. And I think if you guys aren't understanding that or in communication and understand that together and you're on two different wavelengths, that's a big problem, even outside of this current issue that you have. So to try to wrap all this up, I think trying to speak to her rationally about these problems and expressing to her that you want to fix it, but you just don't know how is definitely number one. I think trying to tell her continuously or trying to make her understand that she did something wrong is almost secondary, because if you don't want to fix this and you look in the mirror and you ask yourself these questions like, hey, is this relationship something I truly want? And you say, no, I'm not getting what I need, then so be it. But if you ask yourself, is this what I want? And you truly love this person and you feel remorseful, you need to be able to express that. And that's the main concern, is building those bridges and fixing those things. And that's okay. It's okay to put aside the things that she might be a party to. You can still deal with those, but to have that be a constant thing right now might not be the best bet, because she could take that as you're just being defensive from taking responsibility for the actions you did. You know what I mean? Like, oh, hey, I wouldn't have done this if you didn't act this way, because it comes off like that. I could see how she could take that as a defensive way, as just taking it as you're not taking responsibility for anything and you're trying to shift the blame onto her neglect. And that can completely disrupt the ability to communicate, because right off the get-go, you're trying to get a point across, but you're also accusing at that point. If communication is like this and a conversation starts and the first couple sentences are based off these building blocks, no communication is going to work, because she's going to act defensive. You're going to act in a way that's going to come off as you're accusing. And it's just, that's not good. You can't expect anything good to come out of that. And that's why I say, try to be practical and logical and take your time and put love at the center of all of the choices that you are about to make, if that's what you want to do. And if you can do that, I think you can put some of your concerns to the side, not ignore them, not throw them away. Just put them to the side right now so that you can rebuild your ability to get on the same page and move forward. And as a teammate, if you can do those things, you should be able to bring up these additional points at another time when the time is fitting, and hopefully she'll be receptive to those so that you guys can understand all of the emotions at play, understand how all of your actions can be hurtful to each other or really, impactful. And hopefully you can understand how both of you influence each other into the choices that you make. Now, it doesn't mean that your wife's responsible for the choices that you make. You are responsible for the choices you make. You're your own independent person. You have the choice to speak to somebody as much as you have the choice to divorce your wife and not break that trust. And like I said, it doesn't mean that people are responsible for making people make those choices. We have free will as far as I understand. But it is important to know that they can influence those choices. And if somebody is being vulnerable with their teammate and being open with everything, they're going to get hurt. And the other teammate needs to understand how their interaction and impact to that person can be a contributing factor to them making bad choices. Again, it doesn't mean that she is responsible for you making those choices, but she can be a contributing factor. And I understand on how you want her to acknowledge that. I understand on how you're upset that she doesn't acknowledge that. And I think it's important. I think it's more important to mend what's going on and to get on the same page. But I do think it's important to talk about all these things and bring them all up because it's important to you and it's important to understanding each other and where you're coming from. And that's a big thing to being able to be copacetic and live together, is to really understand where you're coming from with your decision making and how impactful the neglect from your teammate can be, if that makes sense. I hope that you keep us posted with this, and I hope that my insight helps a little bit. I'm glad that you were able to give me so much detail because it does give me a lot to think about, and it is a pretty complicated situation, but I think that there is light at the end of the tunnel. I think that this is very fixable. I just think you need to be honest with her and find out from yourself if this is something that you truly want to fix. Find out from her if she's capable of putting in that time to fix it and taking responsibility for the actions if you can't fix it, and try to do the best thing you can do. And remember, like I said, keep love at the center of your choices. Try to put aside your ego. Try to put aside these other problems. Don't try to cast blame. What's done is done. Take responsibility for it and move forward. But you sent this message because you're conflicted, which tells me that you still have a mass amount of love for this person. So take time and ask yourself these questions, these universal questions, I guess you could say, and see if that's the case. See how strong that love is. And if it is, put that love at the center and make it propel you to make the right choices you can. And if this is a person you love, you'll take a bullet for it. You'll put in 10 years of time. You'll put in all types of dedication to it. And hopefully that's something she'll see. Heck, if you ever show her this podcast, hopefully she'll see it as, I don't want to say like a moment of desperation, but that you're trying to reach out to people with experience because you're at a point where you want to fix it, but you don't know how. And I think that anyone who understands forgiveness can sit back and be like, okay, well, let me help you find out how, maybe I don't know how either, but I can appreciate that you're taking responsibility. And it might not seem like a big thing, but you and I, Jeff, know that people don't do that. So for you to do that, even if it's not able to be mended, is a very, very big thing. And I recognize that. So kudos. Now let's hope that she can recognize that too, and you guys can do what's best. But again, thank you very much for submitting this question. Please keep me posted. I would like to know what happens. If any of these suggestions are worthwhile and you end up trying it, like marriage counseling or something of the sort, please let me know. I would love to know if the suggestion helps. Also, listeners, do you have any suggestions for him? Have any of you been in this same type of similar situation? Can you empathize or sympathize at all? Let me know in the comments below. Send me an email. The email again is thetellmesomethingreatpodcast@gmail.com. Let's try to give Jeff some insight and try to give him some helpful words that can help him through this time, because this it's a pretty crazy situation, man. My heart goes out to you and to your wife, to your family, and I hope that you guys can, like I said, get on the same page and keep moving forward. Well, I think that's it, guys. Like I said, this week has been a little boring because it's basically just been working out, resting, doing a bunch of math and a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. Basically just trying to stay diligent and get this plan of action up and going. And hopefully by the time I do next week's podcast, I'll have an answer for Dustin and hopefully have a little bit more updates on the music side of things for you guys. So next week's episode is going to be pretty cool. I've got a guest lined up, and you know what? I'm going to keep this one secret this week, but I will give you a hint. It is related to Outlaw Star. All you mutual fans out there, get ready because this is gonna be a fun one. I hope you guys tune in. I hope you guys like last week's interview with David Tuber. I am still very much in shock by everything that went down in that interview. And if you watched it and you saw the ending, I don't know what to say. It's amazing. Looking at that item in the office is pretty amazing. And I can only thank David enough. So thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for checking out the episodes. As I mentioned before, the email is thetellmesomethinggraypodcast@gmail.com. Again, I've got Zombie Monkey shirts for sale over at the Big Cartel page, justinyates.bigcartel. I've also got those fundraiser bundles up there too. So snag one of those today and help me pull in the funds to hit the studio, because if I can't pull in the funds, I'm going to sell my car and my kidney that doesn't have kidney stones. So if you guys are looking for a kidney, let me know, because I've got one for you. I've got a kidney for you. I'm just kidding. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure to slam that subscribe button and punch that like icon and whatever else that you need to do on YouTube. And remember that I'm releasing episodes every Tuesday until the first season is done. And then I'm going to Illinois. I hope. Yeah, I'm going to go. I don't care how much it costs. I just got to figure it out. Oh, here is something cool that I can leave you guys on. I spent a little bit too much money this week on the collection side of things, but I was able to solidify an Aqua Teen Hunger Force lot that I believe quite possibly pushed me up to one of the biggest collectors in the States. Now, I'm trying to do the research to make sure that's true, but I've got 2 states confirming that I've beaten out their collectors. Not that it's a contest, but it's just, that's how bad this collection thing is getting. It's ridiculous. But I met up with this guy, and he had some items that were so rare. It's just bonkers. All right, guys, I'm going to head out. Thank you as always for listening. Make sure to keep sending those emails. Tell me something great. Go out there in the world and find something great today. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm going to hit the bike later. I think that's my great thing for the day. Finish podcast, go ride a bike. Oh, but my lower back hurts. Maybe I'll crack it. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
That's great.